Since the military coup in February 2021, Myanmar has descended into a state of terror. The junta, desperate to crush any opposition, has unleashed a wave of violence against its own people. Civilians are no longer mere bystanders in this conflict, they are direct targets. The military, once entrusted with protecting the nation, now bombards villages, attacks hospitals and guns down peaceful protesters. The streets of Myanmar, once vibrant with life, are now haunted by fear. The junta's soldiers, emboldened by impunity, operate with brutal efficiency. Arbitrary arrests, disappearances and extrajudicial killings have become commonplace. The junta, in its thirst for power, has abandoned all pretense of law and order. The international community watches in horror as the death toll mounts. The UN estimates that thousands have been killed, and the true number is likely far higher. The junta's reign of terror has created a humanitarian catastrophe, displacing hundreds of thousands and leaving millions facing starvation. The junta's brutality knows no bounds. They have specifically targeted anyone perceived as a threat to their power. Members of the democratically elected National League for Democracy, NLD, have been hunted down, imprisoned and tortured. Aung San Suu Kyi, the Nobel laureate and symbol of democracy, remains under house arrest, her voice silenced. But the junta's cruelty extends far beyond the NLD. Ordinary citizens guilty of nothing more than expressing dissent or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time have been swept up in the junta's dragnet. Students, teachers, doctors and monks all have faced the wrath of the regime. The junta's tactics are designed to instill fear and crush the spirit of the people. They operate under a cloak of secrecy, with detention centers hidden from the outside world. Torture is rampant, used to extract confessions, punish dissent, and break the will of the people. The junta's cruelty extends even beyond the grave. Families of those killed by the military are often denied the right to bury their loved ones. The bodies are held hostage, with the junta demanding exorbitant sums for their release. This macabre practice adds another layer of suffering to an already unbearable situation. For families struggling to survive, the junta's demands are often impossible to meet. They are left in a state of agonizing limbo, unable to grieve properly or find closure. The junta's actions are a blatant attempt to further punish and intimidate those who dare to oppose them. This ghoulish practice has drawn widespread condemnation, with human rights groups accusing the junta of using the bodies of the dead as bargaining chips. The junta's actions are a testament to their utter disregard for human life and dignity. Scars of oppression, the human cost of resistance, the physical and psychological scars of the junta's brutality run deep. Many have suffered life-altering injuries. Those who dare to resist risk torture, imprisonment and death. Those who survive often bear the physical and emotional scars of their ordeal. The junta's violence has had a devastating impact on Myanmar's healthcare system. Hospitals and medical personnel have been targeted, making it incredibly difficult for people to access even basic medical care. The junta's actions have created a public health crisis, leaving millions vulnerable to disease and preventable deaths. The international community must do more to address the urgent medical needs of the people of Myanmar. Sanctions should target the junta's sources of funding, including their vast business interests. Humanitarian aid must be increased, ensuring that it reaches those most in need. A fractured landscape, ethnic armed groups, and the struggle for unity. The junta's coup has further complicated Myanmar's already complex ethnic landscape. The country is home to numerous ethnic armed groups, some of whom have been engaged in decades-long conflicts with the central government. The coup has created both challenges and opportunities for these groups. Some ethnic armed groups have condemned the coup and offered support to the pro-democracy movement. They see the junta as a common enemy and an obstacle to achieving their own goals of autonomy and self-determination. Others have remained neutral, wary of getting drawn into a conflict that could further destabilize their regions. The National Unity Government, formed by ousted lawmakers and representatives of ethnic groups, faces the daunting task of uniting these disparate groups into a cohesive force for democracy. Distrust runs deep, fueled by decades of conflict and broken promises. A plea for action. The world cannot remain silent. The international community cannot stand idly by as the people of Myanmar are brutalized by their own government. The junta's actions constitute crimes against humanity, and those responsible must be held accountable. The time for words is over. The world must act now. Targeted sanctions against the junta leadership and their financial interests are crucial. An international arms embargo is essential to cut off the flow of weapons fueling the junta's reign of terror. The UN Security Council must refer the situation in Myanmar to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution of those responsible for atrocities. The people of Myanmar have shown incredible courage and resilience in the face of unimaginable brutality. They have taken to the streets, risking their lives for freedom and democracy. The world must stand with them in their hour of need. Silence is complicity. Action is imperative.